everyone, this is Brianna Ray from BriIY, here to bring you a very loud video. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can create your own embroidery machine templates completely free. It is going to take a little bit of work, but it's not a super difficult job, and I know not everybody has an embroidery machine either, but for those of us who do have embroidery machines and maybe want to do something a little more customized, I think this is a really great budget-friendly way to get these designs done. So I'm going to show you my design real quick over here. So up here I have a design that looks like the logo for the Grease movie. I was actually just in a production of Grease. If you don't follow me on any other social media, you probably won't know that I am a performer. So I go and I act in local productions. So for this one, we have a new tradition that the theater is starting, in which we are getting a robe, and on the robe at the end of every show, one ensemble member is supposed to add something to the robe to represent the show and obviously sign their name. So I find I am a pretty creative one, and the girl who got the robe for this show, whose name also happens to be Brianna, though she goes by Bri, she wasn't sure what to put on it, and so I designed this little patch for her, and I am building it for her, and that's kind of why we're doing this. And since it's not super often that I have an excuse to make a super custom design with my embroidery machine, I thought it'd be a cool opportunity to document the process. So I'm going to get started by, I've already created the design. I'm not going to bother going through the issues of creating the design or downloading the software, but I will kind of show you how to use the software once you get in there, because I think there's plenty of videos out there already on how to download these things, and I'm going to assume you already have a design that you want to put together. So I hope that works for you guys. If you have any questions, always leave them in the comments, and I'll answer them as they come up. The program that I'm going to be using is InkScape. It is a freeware program for creating digital art. I had it installed on my computer already. You will, however, need to install a secondary extension for it, which is called InkStitch. So it takes the creations that you make, the vector images that you create out of InkScape, and then is able to convert them into embroidery files. Both of them are free, and I will leave the links to download those in the description box below. To get started, I have my design here that I created using Autodesk Sketchbook, my preferred option for creating designs. And the first step is going to be to remove the background. This is just going to make things easier. I use the website remove.bg to do this. You can pay for premium features to download at the best quality or suffer a little bit of a quality loss. After the second step, this won't matter. As you can see, unfortunately, when I sent it through the system, it did perceive all of the white inside of the name here to be the background as well, so it did clear that out. I just used the restore feature to bring that back and downloaded the image with a specific file name. Next, I'm going to svg to png.com. This is a great website that has a preview feature, which I cannot recommend enough. All you'll have to do is drop your image in there and make sure you lower the number of colors to the appropriate amount of colors. So since I only have 3, I did lower it to 3, so I have my red, my black, and my white. And I also choose to simplify it just because this is going to make the image a little bit cleaner and a little less choppy for when we scale it up and down. Trust me, it is worth doing. Once you get into the app, this is InkScape here, you're going to actually go all the way up to File, and you're going to want to set the scale of this to the appropriate scale for your embroidery hoop, or whatever size it is that you want this patch to be. My hoop is 4x4, so I can go into Document Properties and change the options to inches and switch that to a simple 4x4 to make it easy. Or if you're like me and you have done something like this before, you can save it as a template. So here I have a 4x4 embroidery hoop template. I did, however, save it while I already was working on a project, so I'm just going to delete that and pretend it never happened. You'll go back up to File and hit Import Image. Or you'll just hit import and then import the image. Make sure when you're resizing it that you hold down the control key. This is going to keep the image from distorting so all of your proportions are correct.
Once you're in here, you're going to notice that there are a ton more options with your image here. However, the option, or rather the image, does only move as one piece. The white, the black, and the red are all moving around together. Now we don't want that. So in the top corner here, you can see that I am on the mouse cursor. This is what's going to allow you to copy, paste, delete, do all that. And the option right below it is the nodes option. That's how we got that black selected there. So what I did is I just moused over my black while I was in the node section there, right below the mouse cursor, and I hit Control X. Now I'm going to go over and add a new layer. I'm going to name this layer black, and then import by simply pasting the black portion there. This way all of my colors are going to be on separate layers. This is not a necessary step, but definitely makes your life a whole bunch easier. So I have my black layer, my red layer, and my white layer all separated out just by using that node feature to select the black, going back to the mouse cursor, hitting Control X, and then Control V in a new layer. Now from here, we are actually going to have to break all of these pieces apart. If I were to try to run this as an embroidery file right now, it would give me a ton of errors. This is because all of the black, even though it is not connected, is all operating as one shape. The embroidery machine won't know what order to embroider things in if that is the case. So unfortunately, we are going to have to do a little bit more work to make sure that all of these individual black outlines are counted as their own shape. This is also a great thing to note. You can change all the colors. So if you're working with something and you think it would be easier to see it one color or the other while you're working, definitely do that. You'll see me do that a bunch throughout this. So what I'm going to get started with is I'm going to go into my black layer, make sure everything's named appropriately, just for me. And I am going to start off by hiding the red and the white and going back into that node tool and selecting all of the black. First things first, go up to Path and hit Break Apart. What this does is it takes every individual outline and then fills it into its own shape, which is not ideal, but we can definitely work with it. So you're going to want to send, for some reason, it puts the biggest ones in the front, so I had to send that to the back. You do that by going to Object and Send to Back, or you can hit the End button on your keyboard as the hotkey. And what I'm doing now is I'm going through and I'm selecting the layers that form the outlines. So the bigger layer is obviously going to be the outline itself, and the next layer in is going to be the end of that outline. So if you select both of those by hitting Shift, you don't use Control in this one, it's Shift, click on the outside, and then click on the inside, also holding Shift so that both are selected, and then you'll go to Path and select Difference. This is going to cut out your outlines, just like you can see here, and eventually leave you only with your black outline, or whatever color outline you're using. I was struggling to see the white, so I changed it to green. Here's where you can see that color tool kind of fitting in here. I'm just cutting out all of my extra pieces here, making sure everything is operating as it should be. Perfect. And now going into the red. The red has a lot of tiny little outlines, which made this a touch frustrating to find everything, but it will tell you before you click which object you're selecting, so just pay attention to that to make sure if you have tiny outlines like I do. Make sure everything is separate. And I'm just grouping all of these together, the bigger pieces, and removing any extra bits on the outside just in case that is going to cause me any problems later. You might have to zoom in to line everything back up, but sure enough, my design is all here and it is appropriately prepared for creating the embroidery. This is done by going up into the extensions portion and clicking on Ink and Stitch. I go to Params. This is where you can change all of your settings. After that, I'm going to go up to Ink and Stitch, go down to Visualize and Export, and here you'll have an option to see a simulation of what your embroidery design is going to look like. So here I'm just going to kind of hyperspeed through it, but it'll show you every stitch as it goes, what order all the stitches go in, and what your design is going to look like towards the end. Once that's all done, I'm going to save this work because I haven't done that up to this point in case the app crashes. That did happen once while I was filming, so just be warned. And once you're done with that, all you're going to have to do is go down to Save As, and you're going to click under where it says File Type. You're going to change that to a PES, that is your embroidery file. And that is the gist for getting it done.
All right, getting everything set up. I've got fusible interfacing on, it is nice and tight. I found that the biggest mistake that I made when I was starting out with all of my embroidery was never making this tight enough or taut enough, because when it's loose, it gets sucked into the machine, and I ruined a lot of shirts that way. So always get a nice interfacing, and don't be afraid to go super tight. I have my design all queued up on a USB, and I'm just able to plug it into the side here so that it can read the new design. Alright, so I can just hit the USB button here. I can see my objects here. This is my projects. That's where I put everything I'm currently working with. So we can see that design I had earlier, and here is this design here. Yes, okay. So red first. It says it'll take about 20 minutes to get through the red, 9 minutes to get through the white, and 17 minutes to get through the black, and they are in the order of the layers that I had earlier, so we know that it is reading everything correctly. It's done, but I haven't looked yet. Oh man, it's a little ugly. To be fair, I did mess up a little bit and accidentally popped my sheet out, so I had to put it back in. It might have been a little bit off, but I think I can just take a little bit of fabric marker and fill in that edge over there, and nobody has to know but me. Okay, not so bad. I definitely think it worked a lot better after I got all the extra things cut. I couldn't quite get all the way down on some of the fuzzes. I do have a smaller pair of embroidery scissors that I'm gonna get out to handle those, but I do kind of want to get this done. So just letting it loose, if you will. And now I'm going to cut around the edges and apply the secret sauce. This is Heat and Bond Ultra Hold. So obviously this is a no-sew adhesive, so it is sticky on both sides. So I'm going to iron it onto the back of this and then mail it to my friend, who will then be able to iron it on to her row. And there we have a completely custom patch. If you're wondering what happened over here with these extra dark spots, the simple answer is that my thread tension was a little bit too tight. It kept getting stuck. I'm actually gonna run around the just kind of leftover fabric here and see if I can even color that in with the black, just to kind of finish this off and make it look a little bit more presentable. All right, yeah, that looks a whole bunch better. Highly recommend that. Would I sell this? No, it's definitely not perfect. I would definitely run it through again, but it was not an issue with the print necessarily. It was an issue with the machine. You can see where I had a big issue with the thread clumping. But yeah, this is pretty much the whole tutorial, if you can call it that. I think it's more of a craft with me because I don't know if I actually took enough time to explain all the pieces, but again, drop any questions down below. I'm happy to run you through things, or, you know, explain piece by piece how I made this happen. If you have an embroidery machine and you want to sell custom designs, this is a really great cost-effective way to do that. I am very pleased with the way that this turned out, and I hope you are too. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe. I do put out new videos every Sunday at noon Eastern Standard Time, and I would love for you to be here for the next one. Thanks again so much, and I hope to see you then. Bye!